Hi, welcome to this week's update. Doesn't look as though I've done much, but it's been a hard week. So, what I've managed to get going is the automatic selection of the calls and how they get ordered. So it now does a better job of selecting which calls to use. You notice these ones are now 1%. That is to make sure that these ones are selected more often than the ones not of less importance. What else have I done? When I was selecting the calls, I noticed that the calls weren't populated fully, that if there was a blank space, as in when the dancer was standing still, this application didn't interpret it correctly. So I've added spaces of standalone measures. What else? So now you can see that it's still going wild when I head offset. Oh, I've also added all this as well, so it now tells you what it's doing. So of the sequences it's generated from this one to this one, they aren't showing correctly. It's actually from, I think it was static square to 8 chain through. It now shows you each of the calls as they're called, and then the actual movements that are within that call for each dancer. So D0 is this one, and it goes around the circle that way. And now you can see that it's still not working as far as connecting up, but it is actually, if you look at the top parts, you can see them as it does all the movements. It displays what they're doing, it displays which beat you're currently at within the dance, and as before, it starts wandering off because of the indexing. So you'll see here, I think it's about it now, they start going wildly wrong. But that's something I'm working on. It turns out this is a lot harder to fix than I thought, and it may require some redesign in the back end. But one thing you can see is, if I just make this a little bit smaller until it starts clipping, you can see that the ones we've selected for preference are dive through lead right, so these top 6 basically, and you'll notice that apart from the first move, you do see there's a split circulate here. It ties in with this one, and occasionally you'll get the random one as well. There's a dive through, that's the top one. So that one's been randomly selected from somewhere within the 1% lot. And goes into half sachet, but again that's one we've prioritized. Square through 2, yeah, not in that list, so that's been selected randomly. All 8 circulate. Circle 4, yeah, so that's a random one as well. Half sachet, that's one of our selected ones. So you do see that it is selecting these ones more often, and if you move through all the various things, you see there's a different setup for each one. What I have done also is, so there is a setting internally that says how many branches to take for each move. So it starts with the square. Which one is it? Where does it go on? Static square. There it is. So it starts on that one always, because it's the only static square within this selected list. And from that point on, it's all pseudo-random. But to limit the number of possible combinations. I've now had to reduce it to just 2 branches per step, per call. So let's say you're starting the static square, the next step would add 2 calls to that one, and then to those 2 calls it would add another 2 calls, so you can get 4 calls, and then add 2 to each of those, so then you get 8, and then of course that's an exponential or a square increase. And if you look in the background, it shows you that if you have 3 steps and you've got something like 19 calls in a sequence, that can go into millions of possible combinations, which was taking about 5 to 6 minutes to calculate, which is just far too long. Now it's a lot quicker. If I just do another generate, we'll see what happens this time. So there's only 1,000, 1,200 there, and 10,000 for the reverse call. But in this case, it's only found 2 unique paths. Not sure why there's only 2 this time, but there you go. So this time when I go to, you'll only get 2 here, so the next goes to number 0 and then number 2. That's holding together a little bit better. Anyway, so the next step is to figure out how to manage the numbering of the dancers from one formation to another, because of course each formation has a different numbering, and that's why they're wandering off the screen. So I need to sort that, but it's going to take a bit of a redesign. It might take a couple of weeks to manage that one. I'll have to remove a lot of stuff and add it back in. Anyway, that's all for now. Oh, there's one other thing as well, which I don't quite understand yet, but this is meant to run for 64 beats, but we're only getting 54, and it seems to be different on each one. So if I go to this one, that's also 54, but in other ones I've had it saying 51 and 52, so something not quite right there. I don't know why it's not running to 64 beats. I'll have to resolve that as well. Anyway, that's all for now.